Good morning. I'd like to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And I want to share a verse from Colossians chapter 2. Actually, two of them, verses 6 and 7. Just as you received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in Him, rooted and built up in Him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. Yeah, I got to have something about Thanksgiving today. Well, I want to share a story that I picked up from Bob Goff. This was probably a long time ago, but his father-in-law had an old wooden wagon that he really loved. And shortly after Bob married Sweet Maria, it's the only way he refers to his wife. So this is obviously his father-in-law's daughter, Sweet Maria. I brought the wagon to our house so we could restore it to mint condition. It was pretty old, I guess. They got the sandpaper, the paint, the nuts, the bolts, the tools, everything that they needed, and started in on the intense reconstruction project. You ever do something like that? You got this vision of what it's going to be. You know, maybe it's not a wagon, maybe it's a program, maybe it's a Bible study, whatever. I mean, for me, I remember it was to lead my first mission trip some 40 years ago. Well, these guys were so excited, just the fact that they were starting, you know, that enthusiasm when you first get started. The next day there was a storm. And there was a tree. It was 100 feet tall. It didn't have to be 100 feet tall, but it fell on the wagon. Well, Bob kind of looks on the bright side. We had plenty of firewood that winter, about 100 feet of tree and one priceless wagon's worth. Yeah, so that's the good news, is they had a lot of firewood. But, you know, sometimes it's easy to start things. And I love the fact that God doesn't have any unfinished products. I love that it says in Philippians that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion on the day of Jesus Christ. God does not have unfinished projects. Me, I do. I've got about 19 unfinished books right now. I'm going to get there. I am going to get there. But what takes a little more work is continuing with those projects. And continuing, and one of the things that keeps us going is Thanksgiving, because it's so easy to get discouraged, right? Unanticipated setbacks happen, you know, like trees falling on your wagon. But there's disappointments of every kind. I don't remember which book it was, but Bob Goff wrote a book, and in the foreword of the book, it said that he had completed the book, and somehow, I don't know if he had it on a laptop, and it was something about San Francisco and a car, but he lost the entire manuscript, and he didn't have it backed up anywhere. Man, I would just be devastated if something like that happened to me. But you know what? He's just like, I'll just start over again. I'll rewrite the book. How we continue despite the resistance we encounter shapes the legacy we leave behind us. Folks, we're all going to have resistance. We're all going to have stuff that comes against us. But here's what a lot of Christians say. Well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Okay? I remember one time that I'd spent 3 hours trying to book a vacation for myself and Heidi, and I got nowhere. And at one point I thought I had everything exactly I wanted, and ended up with nothing. And then Heidi said, well, I guess we're just not supposed to do it. It was a cruise, okay? I got in the car, and the day before I'd added a new station, Me TV Radio. The first song that came on was The Love Boat. And I called Heidi, I'm like, we are going on the cruise. And we did. That was our great Mediterranean adventure from, oh my goodness, 7 years ago. But a lot of times we can say, God closed the door, it wasn't meant to be. But maybe what God's really trying to do is to get us to grow. Just was at a men's study last night, and we were talking about how sometimes we try to help people, but we hurt them. You might have heard the story about the butterfly trying to break out of the cocoon, and it's struggling, and this little boy sees it, and so he gets a pair of scissors and he cuts it out, cuts the cocoon off, saves it, or so he thinks. It wasn't long before the butterfly died, because there's something that happens about getting out of that cocoon that makes that butterfly stronger, that causes it to stretch, that causes it to grow on the inside. Trust God that even when things are going wrong, be thankful and know that He wants you to grow, He wants you to be strong, and He wants you to fly like that butterfly. God bless you. Have a great Thanksgiving.